Hey friends, and welcome back to Stronger Every Day. Today we're going to talk about something that it's pretty sensitive with me. It's something that's heavy on my heart, and that is, what do you do when literally nothing is working? So first off, let me start and say this: you're not alone. Nearly 1/3 of people who are diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and mental health have treatment-resistant depression. So I think it's important when we understand you're not alone, and that if you do have treatment-resistant depression, if you can't find anyone else that either you know or that will admit that they have it, I have it. So now you know. You're not alone. There's many of us out there that have it. I would say over my lifespan that I've probably been on at least 10 different medicines. I've been offered a few other options that I declined. I've seen therapists. I've changed my diet. I have really hit it from all angles, and I've had good periods, and then I've had very bad periods, and then I've had kind of my normal period, which to me is not like what I see on the outside looking in of other people's normal. So I wanted to talk about that. I know it's very difficult, and we've talked about that I was at my wit's end. I feel like this last time when I was just devastated and crying out to God to help me or bring me home was exactly what I had said, and I have said that many times before. I feel like that when he called me to start doing this channel and to start studying, which was about 7 months ago, coming up on 8 months, that I started hitting it with all angles. So instead of going to a therapist, maybe changing some medicine and that's it, or 6 months later or a year later or 2 years later working on the things I put into my body, or maybe the next year it was just going to a therapist, or maybe it was a new medicine. I kind of hit it from all angles. So I really started studying and spending time with God every day. I've changed my eating where most of it is clean. I'm not fanatical about it, but I feel better both physically with my arthritis and mentally when I'm eating cleaner. I've been doing a little bit of exercise here and there. I've been getting out more, forcing myself to get out more, because sometimes that's not easy for me. Going to a therapist, I kind of hit it from every angle. So when that doesn't help, what do you do? Like, what do we recommend? What are we telling each other? What are we saying? Are there treatments for treatment-resistant depression? Yes, there's many of them. I'm not educated enough about any of them to lead you one way or the other. What I would suggest is that you get with your doctor and get with a specialist, right? So if you have heart disease, I have a phenomenal PCP, which is my primary care doctor, and I trust her with a lot. A lot of people, their PCP, they're just a general practitioner doctor, right? So they're not specialized, trained in heart disease and elements of the heart. They're not trained in cancer and the best options to treat that. They're not trained in diabetes and what's the best option to treat that. And they're not trained in mental health. My PCP has a lot of knowledge, and I trust her with everything. But until I found her, I needed a specialist, whether that's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a different kind of mental health provider. You know, we're not shy, right? If you're diagnosed with heart disease, then you go to a cardiologist. We're not shy about going to a cardiologist. Or if you're diagnosed with a skin cancer, you go to a dermatologist. We're not shy about doing that, but for some reason, we just want to kind of get away from oh, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, like this taboo that it's bad. It isn't. It isn't. It's a specialist, right? So your disease is that you have things going on in your mind that there's a plethora of reasons why, and you need a specialist to help you treat that. So they can lead you down the right road of potential other treatments. Now, what happens when those don't work? What happens when you've tried therapy, you've tried medication, you've tried exercise, diet change, you've tried some of the treatment resistant procedures and medications out there, and none of that helps? That's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit about today. First and foremost, I want you to understand you are not alone in this. You are not alone. 1/3 of all people diagnosed with mental health, depression, anxiety have treatment-resistant depression. I feel like as a society, we kind of blame the person, right? Well, you're just not trying hard enough. Well, if you just pray a little bit more, if you just talk to God about it, let me help you understand something. The only reason I'm here today is because I love God. He has been there with me through everything, and I want nothing more than just to look up at him and just learn from him, right? So to say that I haven't reached out to God and I haven't thought about maybe talking with him is a joke. But a lot of times you kind of get victim blamed, right? Well, you know, you're not doing this or you're not doing that. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes we don't take our medicine. Sometimes we quit taking our medicine, which can be very detrimental to mental health. Is when you just stop. Sometimes we do things on top of taking our medicine that make things harder, like drinking and drugs, overeating, eating crap foods, things like that. Sometimes we aren't doing the best job, but sometimes we are. And I think it's important for us to just stop stigmatizing mental health. We're all crazy, we're all nuts, we all need to be in the loony bin. We all all this stigma and crap that comes with mental health. Stop. Right? Love each other. Everybody's having difficult times in their life, at different times, and we need to start giving a little bit of grace and a little less judgment, a little bit more love, which is what we're called to do, and a little bit less criticism. Sometimes your depression not getting better isn't treatment resistant depression. Now, if you don't know, what most people classify that as is 2 failed attempts to help you, whether that be medicine or whatever your doctor feels that you know, if you tried one medicine, it didn't work, you tried another, that didn't work, and you're on your 3rd one, that could be considered treatment resistant depression. Why it's important to see a specialist or someone who is very well versed in the treatment for mental health is sometimes you're on the wrong medicine. Sometimes you may have thyroid medicine or heart medicine or insulin or other medications, birth control, antibiotics, steroids, even something for migraines can interfere, right? Each medicine can interfere with another. So you need to know someone who knows, I can put you on this, but you can't take this, right? So it's about being on the right medicine for you. Other times it's you're on the wrong dose. So a lot of times if you go to your PCP, you tell them that you're struggling, you tell them your symptoms, they're going to give you the baseline, because that, you know, no one wants to put you on way more medicine than you need. So they're going to give you what they're most familiar with and the baseline for it. But that might not be what you need. So ask to see a specialist and get in with someone who you can trust. Now understand, this process is going to take a minute, because psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists, they're booked. And that should tell you something right there. When I say that you're not alone, it takes sometimes months to get into to see some of these people. Unfortunately, that is the mental health field, is it can sometimes take months to get into someone. So here's the other thing. Maybe the treatment option is not for you. Maybe you should be on a different treatment, whether that is medical or medicine, or whether that's a medical procedure, or whether that's a combination of medicine and dosage. Maybe there's something else that you should be on. So sometimes it is not treatment resistant depression just because you took 1 or 2 medicines that did not work. That's why you need to get in with a specialist, someone who knows what they're talking about in that field. It's important to understand that we are still to this day learning information about mental health and what the causes of depression, anxiety, bipolar, all of these conditions, what is actually causing them. Some people, and it's been long believed, that it's certain chemical imbalances in the brain that aren't working correctly. Some people believe it's neurotransmitters in the brain that aren't sending the correct amount to each other. So like your serotonin levels aren't working properly. Some people feel like it has to do with the nerve cells in your brain, and potentially that is why when you start taking an antidepressant or a medicine for mental health, that it takes some time to work, sometimes weeks to work. Some people believe that it's healing those nerves and making them actually do what they're supposed to do, and that's what causes depression. To be quite frank, it could be some, it could be all, it could be none. We're still learning, but that's what the medicines are geared towards. So research is done. This is what people believe. This is what the experts believe. And then this is what we try to do to make it better. And, you know, we're still learning. You know, there's not a cure for cancer. There's not a cure for depression. So it can be frustrating, right? Because it's not the same answer for everybody. Everybody has a, you know, different aspects that make things different for them. There are options for treatment-resistant depression. First, talk to your doctor. Second, talk to a specialist. There are, like I've said before, there are many things that are out there that are available to potentially help you, but you need to get in with someone who knows what they're doing and can help you on those journeys to get better. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a big one, and this was us a couple of years ago. Okay, this is all great, right? Let me get in with a doctor, let me get in with a specialist, and let me get on 1, 2, 3, or 4 different medicines, right? What happens when you don't have insurance? What happens when it takes 6 months to get into a specialist? What do you do in that time? So what happens, this is a big one, what happens when your deductible is $12,000 and you're paying $600 a month for just yourself in health insurance? What happens when you don't have millions of dollars to go to a more foo-foo hospital, psychiatric hospital that can help you? What do regular people do when you're struggling with this? So I'll tell you what I did is I just withdrew even more, right? There's no help for me. Nobody cares. There's no help. You can't even get into a provider. You've been going through the rigmarole of all these different medicines, haven't worked. All these different therapists haven't done anything. Changing this, changing that, and that is 100% the devil getting in your mind, telling you that nothing's going to work, nothing's going to change, and your life's always going to be this way. And unfortunately, when he has us in that spot, we believe him. So I wanted to give you a couple options for if you have no insurance or poor insurance, no prescription coverage. I made some notes and I want to go over some of the options that you do have. If you have mental health and you need someone to go to and you have no financial resources to do it, these are a couple options. They're not, some of them are great, some of them are a little less great, some of them you still have to pay a little bit. You have to find what works for you. But if you will put in a little bit of effort, we can find something that will work. So the first one is it's a NAFC clinic.org. You can go to that. I will post it down below. It's nafcclinic.org. They have some search options on there for either free or low cost therapists and doctors who you can talk to. Some are via like a Zoom type call, like a camera call. Some are in office. So there's a couple different options there. There's also openpathcollective.org that you can go to. Same thing. Some of it costs, some of it doesn't. They're linking you up to providers within your area that can help, whether it be via like a Zoom type appointment or physically going into the office. it's called, you can also try group therapy. So group therapy is cheaper. It might actually help better for people that suffer with mental health, because you can see others in the room that are going through something similar that what you're going through, so you don't feel as alienated and don't feel as alone. And these people that are in the room with you are all actively where you are, and they're having the same issues, the same judgments, the same condemnation, the same thoughts and loneliness that you're having. So some of the group therapies, there's the National Alliance of Mental Health, can link you up with some. I'll have all this in the description below. There's the Anxiety Depression Association of America that can help. There's also the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and I will link all of this below. For prescriptions, there's things like GoodRx and Single Care that you can try. I know even sometimes we have health insurance and we have prescription coverage, but sometimes those GoodRx in particular is the one I've used a lot, are cheaper for me to use that. If we have medicine for the kids, I know Stella, who's this one back here, she had some medicine. It was cheaper to get it via GoodRx, and of course, you know, I've mentioned all of ours are seniors, so there's several that are on medicine, and sometimes it's cheaper, especially if it's something that has to be called in. We had a dog that had seizures and he was on 3 different medicines, and they were all medicines that had to be picked up from the pharmacy. Obviously there's no prescription coverage. There are some out there for animals, but the GoodRx was a great option too, and you can use those. Sometimes it's thinking outside the box. It's not, I don't have insurance, I can't, right? It's, I don't have insurance, what can I do? And sometimes you just need to reach out to someone that can help you, whether that be, again, your PCP, or get on a search engine and just try to Google this information. It's going to be a lot easier when you're a little bit healthier. When you're not down in the pit of depression, it's going to be a lot easier. Sorry, our mail person was driving by. Those are the organizations. What can you do in the meantime? Talk to someone. That's very hard. It was very hard for me. I want to withdraw and I don't want to talk to anyone. But what happens is when you withdraw and don't talk to anyone, you're alone with yourself and all of those thoughts that are going through your head, and none of them good. And you start thinking about plans. And when you don't reach out to someone, sometimes we take those plans into action. So every 21 seconds in the world, someone commits suicide. Every 21 seconds. It's very important for you to understand you're not alone. Every 21 seconds, someone takes their own life. It's a decision that they deemed was the best thing, the best outcome for them and everyone involved. You're not alone. Talk to someone. Find a trusted source that you can talk to. You can also have a support system, right? So maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your parent, maybe it's your friend at work, whoever that is for you. Have a support system where if you're in that mind space and your thoughts have went down and deep and you're either thinking or planning on ways to leave this world, call somebody. Call that support system and say, I'm struggling. Have a code word, whatever that looks like for you, so that they know this is bad and I need you here. And get them, either you get to them or them get to you, and that way you've got someone who can tell you thoughts that are outside of your own mind, outside of your own brain, and put fresh thoughts in your head. Because when we get in that space, like I've said before, it's just negative. There's nothing good, nothing. It's the devil. He's in your mind, and he's 100% just coming at you because he wants to win, and he's nothing but a liar. In that moment, you're not seeing that. Talk to someone, have a support group. It's also important too to have a go-to plan when you are at that stage, when either you're thinking very seriously about it, you've prepared for it, and you're planning for it. Have a go-to plan. if you are starting to dive down and you either have attempted or you're thinking about suicide, and your go-to is extra medication, give it to someone. Give it to keep, not to take. Give it to someone to put in a safe for however long, a week, a day, a month. If you have, you know, extra medication that you shouldn't, I'm not saying the regular medication you should take on a daily basis, but extra medication that if you overdose could kill you, get it out of your house, put it in a safe, and give the key to someone if you don't want it to leave your home. That way you can't use that option. It's going to make it harder. If you're committed to do something, you're going to figure out a way. But let's think of ways that eventually, when you run out of options, you're gonna stop and go on. Another thing is, if you have thought about harming yourself with a weapon, get it out of the house. Whatever that weapon looks like. I mean, a belt, a knife, a gun, if it's a cord, whatever that is, get it out of the house. Again, put it in a safe, get it out of the house, do whatever you have to do. I'm not saying you have to get rid of it forever, but get it out long enough to where when you start coming back up, then you can, you know, bring that stuff back in, but get the immediate things out of your reach. And I know this sounds like a pain, but the option is us losing you. And we don't want to do that. None of us want you to go. Some of this might seem extreme. Maybe it is. But the ultimate goal is we want to keep you safe, and we want to keep you here with us, because this world needs you. Something that you've done in your life has made a difference with somebody. I have a friend who has dealt with this for probably the same amount of time, probably longer than I have, and she actually helped me probably 15 years ago and went with me to a therapist, and that probably saved my life, that she went with me. It's having a support system, having someone you can reach out to. Sometimes we don't get healed. Sometimes we just have to manage, and that's hard. It's hard to keep going day after day after day when you are struggling with everything that we're struggling with, and it's stinks. It's not fair. It's not, we want to know why. And I've told you in another video, but if you haven't seen it, my why, I finally found out after 27 years that it was to help others, to turn my pain into a purpose and help others. And I feel very blessed that God revealed that to me and let me know that, because some people never get that. They never get their why. Why am I having to live like this? And like I've said before, it's extremely difficult to be on here, be open and vulnerable and talk with you about this, because I've been embarrassed, I've been ashamed, and I've tried to hide it my entire life. No more. My pain has a purpose, and I clearly felt God call me to do this. And whether one person watches this video or 1 million, it doesn't matter to me. I'm following what God told me to do. And I've had a few people that have reached out, and it's meant the world to me, because believe me when I say that the devil attacks me every single day, and every single time that a video comes out that this is stupid, no one cares, no one's watching, and you're not doing a thing. But in fact, I've actually had people reach out and thank me, and it's helping me. Most importantly, I'm following what God told me, and you know that just ticks the devil right off. I also wanted to talk to you about a number that you can call if you have no other option, or even if you do have other options. If you feel like, I don't have anyone I can talk to, I don't have a plan, I don't have a support system, I have no one in my life, there's no one that I feel like I can call if I'm at that point, or if I'm even starting to get to that point, there's a number that you can call. It is, you dial 988. you can text 988. It's basically the suicide prevention hotline. You can get on there and talk to people instead of dialing a 1-800 number. You just dial that 988. If you're a veteran, you can press 1 and it will connect you. My understanding is with veteran-specific counselors. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, I'm in Tennessee, so I'm using Tennessee statistics. In 6 months, the 988, just in Tennessee, there's been 21,000 calls just from the state of Tennessee in a 6-month period. You're not alone. 21 people every second commit suicide. You're not alone. I'm on here being very vulnerable and raw with you. You're not alone. The mental health community is about the only community that I feel like we're all in this together, right? If one of us can take a stand and make it better for the next person, then the next person and the next person and the next person, and finally we get out of this stigma of the mental health arena, right, of what everyone's opinion is. And a lot of it, to be honest, is people don't understand it, so it's automatically condemned. That's our society. If you don't understand it, then it's stupid and it's worthless, and people are not stupid and they're not worthless. They're not. So if you don't understand something, how about talking to somebody who has that situation? How about talking to someone who has cancer, talking to someone who has heart disease, talking to someone who has depression? How about pulling out a computer and just getting on a search engine and finding out some just real basic facts instead of just, well, I don't understand it, and so you don't want to feel stupid, you just want to make others feel stupid. And that's unacceptable. People are not replaceable. And we need each and every one of us here. God put us here for a reason, and we need you here. I fully understand that treatment-resistant depression and anxiety and bipolar, schizophrenic, that's a hard enough thing to have to deal with. But then to, on top of that, have treatment-resistant, it's just like an extra punch in the gut, an extra slap on the face. And I wish I could tell you that everything's going to come out rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we don't get healed, and we have to figure out a way to manage it. Is it easy for me? No, it hasn't been. It hasn't been easy at all. My prayer is for you that it's easier. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. I like to end every video this way. I'll have all this contact information linked in the bottom below in case you need to get in touch with an outlet that I mentioned before. God loves you. I love you. Your family loves you. Your friends love you. And we need you here. Guys, if you need help, please reach out to someone. If you can message me and keep it private on Instagram. Over there should be a link in the description of my Instagram account. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and I have no degree in mental health, but I've lived with it for 27 years, and if nothing else, I can be someone to listen to you. And you're always welcome to reach out to me over there, and I will help in any way that I can. Guys, we will see you in the next one. Thanks.